All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and today we're going to have a little bit of fun because of the whole pandemic and literally everything being shut down. We're going to go ahead and play this game called Plague Inc., which is a really fun game based off of the original Flash animation game from, God, I think it was like in the early 2006 range or something like that. Um, it was really fun, but it was a pain in the rear end to play the original, simply because of Madagascar and Greenland. I mean, it's still difficult in this one, but they made it a little easier to get to those. But they also boosted the AI a little bit in defending against it. And as you can see, we're playing is the coronavirus, the Chinese Wuhan virus. I'm allowed to say that, am I not? So let's go ahead and get started. And of course, we are going to pick China as our starting nation. And honestly, I'm going to play this like the actual. Okay, so it's primarily air transmitted, and I have no DNA for the rest of it, so we'll just continue to go. Yeah, I know. Kung Flu starts in China. Yeah, I know. It costs a lot of DNA to, because mutations and all that stuff. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on. Yes, I'm aware. Um, about some of the stuff that's going on with, the Wuhan virus. The first thing to note is that we're going to starts here, and it's primarily a respiratory infection. But the interesting thing about the coronavirus situation is it's really stretching the bounds of what people in office are doing. Um, Something that I've noticed, sneezing is something I want to add. I don't want to make it too severe or anything, but you know, for example, ooh, I don't want that. Okay, anemia. I don't care that it's going to cost me DNA to devolve it. I need to devolve that because it's not one of the actual symptoms of COVID. Yes, I'm aware, game, of how I'm aware of how this game works. But one of the interesting things is that the GOP is now endorsing a basic temporary form of universal basic income, which has always been a very interesting proposal. However, a lot of conservatives and a lot of free market economists have only thought it a good idea if you use it to replace welfare. However, right now, because of the economic panic that set in due to the pandemic, we've got a situation where, okay, no, I don't want to go there yet. This is probably the best option, and then the next one I'm going to go for is this. So we're going to go there next. Oh, goody. But there, nope. We're going to devolve that real quick. I don't care about the cost. Damn the expense. It is an interesting idea simply because it will provide a stimulus to the economy if it is implemented. However, I'm curious about whether or not that'll cause any form of significant inflation. I've always been a bit concerned. Actually, we're going to involve the water. I've always been concerned about stuff like inflation being more detrimental to an economy than unemployment or decreasing stock prices or anything like that. Because my biggest concern there is that at the end of the day, inflation is going to do more to harm the average American than pretty much than unemployment will, simply because if you look at what happened in, say, the Weimar Republic or Hungary during their notable hyperinflation episodes. Okay, I do need to. It's significantly more likely that. Oh, that's good to know. Actually, I'll leave nausea up there because it does. I have heard that is one of the symptoms. And last night we heard news that West Virginia became the last U.S. state to become infected with the coronavirus. But moving back onto the topic of inflation, you look at these notable episodes of hyperinflation, and the reality is that they've done more to harm people there. Yeah, close enough. I'm going to pop that. I'm going to hit pause. I've got 35, so that. I would assume it can be transmitted through insects as well, potentially blood. But it is interesting how quickly, once people realized how infectious this disease was, that people started shutting literally everything down. Like, it's kind of impressive, actually. We're going to need more in cold. And then I should probably get the genetic. Yeah, exactly. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get the genetic hardening. And there we go. Okay. And that is, I find that very intriguing. But it's also important to know that this has been done almost entirely by private sectors in a lot of the Western world. That these organizations, these groups, these sports leagues have shut down of their own volition on the recommendations of many health groups. And at the end of the day, I think that is a sign that free markets and private enterprise can handle a crisis like this, especially with their willingness to work with governments and listen to governmental organizations. Now, there is an interesting, I'll call it a conspiracy theory, that this was a leaked bioweapon. I tend to be skeptical. I'm going to let it stew a little bit. I tend to be skeptical about these types of conspiracy theories simply because at the end of the day, okay, got Madagascar, that's good. I don't want anemia. Okay, so I still got 16 to infect with various things. Transmission. I would assume blood. I really want to focus on infectivity. And this is good that we're at 0%, but I do need to get Greenland pretty quick. There we go. So the rest can start falling and I can focus on... Good, and South America just got infected. That's good. So I can focus on 25. I've got 31. We'll go ahead and do that. That'll make it a little bit harder. And as we infect more people, we'll get more points so that I can invest in lethality. Yep. There we go. 35. Yeah, I can do that. And then symptoms, I would assume there'd be some. I do know that people are buying up tons of toilet paper because they think this is just like an actual cold. Haha, we cause death. Okay. So that is kind of interesting. And one thing I noticed that is kind of unique. Okay, we're going to go here. I want to add a little bit of heat resistance, and may as well evolve that too. That should make it a little bit harder to actually get, that's fine. But okay, that works well. All told, we're gonna do that. Oh shoot, that cost a lot. Oh my god. Excesses, hypersensitivity. We'll go ahead and add paranoia. That should be fun. I mean, it does cause paranoia. But yeah. And we're talking about, placed on a watch list. That's fantastic. Okay, that's fine. As long as we start infecting people really quickly. Canada's infected, and since we have basically everywhere. Yeah, I know. Okay. Transmission. I want to focus on trying to get it to... Okay, increases chance of mutation. That's good. I'm not going to default of anything. Okay, cool. But I found that I think people are still over panicking, but okay, that may be a bit too much. I don't want total organ failure just yet. But I'd be fine with seizures because we do need to start killing, but I also don't want to lose infectivity in a lot of these African nations because it's good. 19%. Good. Okay. Sweating. That'll probably help. Okay, and then anything that's lethality related, I'm just not going to. Good. Okay, insanity is great. That's not good. I'm going to need to start... Oh, good. We need to start killing more people, though. Oh, good. Dysentery. You have died of dysentery. Killed more than the Spanish flu. That's successful. However, we need to be killing faster. Abilities. I need the genetic reshuffle. Okay, that's a 25. I should get to that pretty soon. New Zealand begins to break down. That's good. Skin lesions. That's very good. But projectile vomiting, that's extremely good. Killed more than smallpox. Nice. But paralysis, very good. We're going to evolve that. We may be able to kill everybody faster than they can cure us. But, you know, I think some of the interesting effects... Oh, yeah, then, of course, the stimulus package that a lot of nations are probably going to be implementing to bail out their industries and all that. I think those are going to wind up being detrimental because when you implement a stimulus package, what winds up happening, like what they're proposing, what often winds up happening is that at the end of the day, inflammation, that's very good. At the end of the day, companies are just going to implement stock buybacks, corporate stock buybacks, where they purchase a lot of their outstanding. We're going to evolve that. And that should drop. There we go. Thank you for dropping that down, because I didn't like that jumping up like it did. These corporate stock buybacks are where a company will buy back all their stock rather than hiring new workers or increasing the wages of ones that are currently on payroll. And the reason they do this is because companies want their stock back in both times of crisis, but also when things are good. Because in times of crisis, it means that they're going to be protected against the loss of too much profit margin, and they're not going to have as much outstanding debt in most cases. But the other reason why they want to do it in really good times is because all of a sudden they don't have much use for high liquidity. So what they wind up doing is they buy back all their stocks so that they can make more profits on the dividends. That way their dividends go right back into their own pockets. However, and that's the reason why I sometimes have problems with, what's sometimes called trickle down or, Reaganomics. Why I kind of agree with H.W. Bush that it's that it's voodoo economics. Because at the end of the day, it's not beneficial to most people. That'll add a lot of lethality, which is what we need. And hemorrhagic shock, that's very good. Instead, what we need to be focusing on is trying to figure out how to aid the largest portion of the tax base in America. And of course, everywhere else would be a good idea. And the best way to do that is to increase their disposable income, their and lowering the the largest tax base, which is the middle and lower incomes. And the best way to do that is to cut payroll taxes, but to also cut their own to cut the tax rate on these groups specifically. I wish I had something with more lethality, but whatever, we'll go with that. Hopefully total organ failure is next. And that's going to put more money in the pockets of common, ordinary Americans who don't, in a lot of cases, don't necessarily have the luxury of being able to invest in the stock market, because a large portion of Americans, whether due to lack of understanding of finance or improper education on finance in terms of personal finance, they are kind of unable to have enough saved up so that they can invest in the stock market. So basically what's going to happen is they're going to maybe be able to actually catch up on their debt, or if they have very low debt and are managing their debt properly, they'll be purchasing more goods, maybe a new car, paying off some of that mortgage, maybe buying a house, certainly purchasing more in terms of groceries or childcare supplies, that type of stuff. And if you're a keen investor, because of all this quarantine, think about all the young couples across the world that are being bottled up for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time. Everybody talks about Netflix benefiting the most, but in about 8 to 10 months, I expect a lot of companies that are producing stuff like baby food and diapers and all that type of stuff, I expect them to see a very large boost in sales for necessities. If for those of you who get what I'm talking about. Ooh, necrosis, I like that. So we've got The Walking Dead. Nice. But in all seriousness, I do expect there to be a decent-sized boom in the populations of a lot of places. Simply because, well, guess what? What else is there to do if you're a young couple and locked up in your home for 2, 3, 4 weeks. But yeah, it is interfering with life everywhere. There's no sports going on except for one, and that is the candidates tournament for the World Chess Championship going on right now in Russia. And I am watching that very keenly because, well, I've got nothing else to do except cook and do what little working out I can, push-ups, sit-ups, that sort of thing. And I'm watching it very intently because, well, I have two rooting interests. Number one, I want some good fighting games to be played, but also I like two of the players in the tournament. The French player Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and the American Fabiano Caruana. I I don't really care which one wins, but I want it to be one of the two because they both play fighting chess. They're both, friendly people from what I understand, and Caruana because he's an American. I'm a little bit biased, but as you can see, coronavirus is going to kill us all, and everybody was kung flu fighting. So I want to thank all y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see y'all next time. Take it easy. Have a nice day. I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.